Lindenwood head coach Jed Stugart, the team coming off a loss to SEMO. That was its conference opener. They'll be on the road again. They're going to be at Western Illinois, who will join the Big South OVC Association next year. That's on Saturday night. So, Coach, just some thoughts on your team, and then we'll go to some questions.
Well, we learned a lot on Saturday. Obviously, while the game's going on, and we knew this was going to be a big test. We've got several players on our team that this was going to be their first big boy football game. From our quarterback to receivers to several of our defensive players, and so first of all, great environment there. They do a great job down there. It's and so we knew going into that type of environment, we needed to kind of see how our guys handled that a little bit. And I don't think we handled it well in the first half whatsoever. And just think we actually issued kind of the first punch in the game on a special teams play and got some energy on our sideline. And then they counterpunched and went down and drove the ball down the field and scored. And we just didn't respond well after that. And then you come back home and you watch the film the next day, and some of that discouragement that you might feel when in a game like that, when you look at the scoreboard, starts to kind of go away when you start realizing how many little things that we did that can be fixed, that are correctable, that can really, change a outcome or at least a better performance. If we hit, we left 3 explosive plays, on the field where we just didn't hit, where, all of a sudden that, we're kind of right back in that game, but we didn't execute those plays. And so when you scale it back and have to go back to the drawing board and kind of say, okay, where are we at as a team? I felt a lot more encouraged and felt like, a lot of these things are very fixable and correctable. And a lot of it is just even Cole, his first, he's played some games, but he hasn't played in a game of this magnitude. And I think he's a quick study. He's a smart, sharp kid that's going to learn quickly. He already knows some of the things that he did, and so I still feel very optimistic about this football team and not get too wrapped up on just the score of this game.
Thanks, Coach. If you got a question for Coach, let me know. I got some here I want to ask you from Prairie State Pigskin guys in a sec. I want to know though, how good do you think SEMO is? Obviously, they played really well. Like, what's your read on them?
No, I want to make sure, number one, I believe watching this team and playing them last year and playing them this year, I mean, I think they are definitely deserving of the ranking and where they're at. I mean, I think they're a well-rounded football team from offense, defense, special teams. I mean, so I give them a lot of credit, and I know Coach and I talked before the game, both of us not coming off of, we came off of a game that we weren't tested in, and that was going to be a concern. They played a game against a very good FBS opponent, and so we both had questions. I think going back to the media day, and like Tuke said, he felt like he had probably one of his best loaded teams that he's had probably since he's been there, and I could see that. I think they've got a really good shot to go, and for our conference sake, got a really good chance to go far in this season if they, obviously if we all stay healthy, but real impressed with their team, no doubt.
Here are the questions I got submitted. Western Illinois has not turned the ball over through 2 games. What stands out about their offense and how efficient has it been?
Well, spending yesterday and today a little bit on, and I'll be honest with you, I've probably spent more time just because I'm a defensive guy. I probably spend more time watching their offense and everything. And I think again, it's the same thing that we talk about is not look at records. Don't look at that's a very bad trap to get into. This is a team that plays in the Missouri Valley, which is an extremely tough conference. Top to bottom, that league is very tough, and so they're used to playing in a very physical, tough conference. I think efficiency offensively, anytime you're not turning the ball over and giving up possessions, I mean, I think that's a huge thing. That's something that we have to try to do. We did a pretty good job at taking balls away last year, and that's got to be something that we emphasize and get back to a little bit, because that's, for victories, a lot of times that's what it takes, is to gain some possessions that way. So I've been, again, I'm kind of doing preaching to the choir here, with my team. I'm not looking at, I know a little bit familiar with some of the coaches on the staff, and I know they also, being a new staff and a new direction they have to go into, they've got some new faces and things like that too, that they're putting together. So we got to be really careful not to just look at, maybe how they've started or how we've started, because they're going to be a physical football team that plays in a physical league.
You partly answered this one, but the next question I got was, are there concerns about playing a team that has a long losing streak? It's at 15 games for them now. Any comment to that?
Well, we have to look at where we're at. I mean, we haven't done a whole lot yet to ever feel like we're in a position to look at somebody else's situation. We're technically, I kind of look at this as really our true first year in with pretty much a full FCS D1 schedule. And we know that we have not, we don't look like a lot of the guys that we're playing yet. We're still growing into that across the board. We've got guys, we're catching up to that a little bit, but as you could see Saturday, we can't afford to make mistakes against teams like SEMO. SEMO's got very good players across the board where they can overcome some mistakes and things like that. We're a team that right now with where we're at, we're still we still are in our direction to get to where we want to be at this level. So we have to kind of keep that level head of understanding that we are in no position to even look at anybody's record. Our team believes that too. I mean, they are really focused. They understand that everybody's pretty humble here to realize that we have to go in and week out. Our team did that last year. We stayed humble and knew that we had to go in, and we pulled off some upsets last year because we went into games knowing that we had to execute, that nobody's going to lay down for us, because there's nothing that we've done that make anybody lay down for us anyway. So I don't look at that as a concern. We have not even talked about it. And again, it's it's new seasons. You can't even look at old seasons. So I think our guys have been pretty good, and we've kept that in front of them pretty hard.
Last question I got about Western was their quarterback. He's only played 2 games at Western. Is that enough to evaluate him, or do you look at film from his other stops? How does that work?
We don't do too much with that. Well, to say, yes, excuse me. You might look at other stops. We've done a little research just to kind of get a gauge of what type of quarterback you're kind of facing. That was back before we really had any film of them. But now when you start getting into a couple games, it's all based on the program that you're in and the offensive scheme that you're running. So, you might want to get a quick look on what type of kind of quarterback, what kind of traits he has and things like that. But, we're focused on kind of the present right now and kind of their last game and the things that we kind of see and what we have to defend. And we're in the same kind of boat. We have a quarterback that's really only played 2 games, and one we weren't really tested much, and we got real tested Saturday. So now it's just about how at least our quarterback in his situation handles and adjusts and learns from, and I'm sure they're in the same situation.
Mike, do you have any questions? I don't want to keep asking away.
I've just got one question. Going into Western, basically what do you your as far as defense, what kind of an approach towards Western do you think? More pressure zone? How do you look at Western's offensive attack?
Well, again, you've got to kind of, we have to, and we're, to be honest with you, on the Tuesday, we're still kind of in that phase. We're pretty much got a game plan still being constructed, and so there's still a lot of film and a lot of stuff being watched as we go into practice this afternoon. So part of that is getting initial. What you want to really do is we want to just kind of see if we can get an identity of what their offense is. Really, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and we're formulating that now. and then, that's really kind of how you set up a defensive attack is that, what are you trying to take away that's something they do well? And that's what we're kind of studying and looking at now. So, you know, again, I see what we're seeing a lot of, and this was our move up from Division II to Division I, is you just see we're just facing, bigger, more physical type offensive linemen a lot of times. And that's really where that starts is up front. You got to say, okay, I've always believed you got to stop a run game. You got to be sound in your fits and things like that. And then what do they do off of that in their pass game? And so Mike, we're still a little bit in that phase of kind of figuring a little bit of that stuff out. But again, they're in a little bit of a same boat because they've got a lot of new players, that they've brought in and kind of changing their direction with a fairly new staff, and so I think there's a lot of stuff where, both of our teams are still trying to figure out because we have a lot of new too. And so it's going to make for an interesting game, obviously. But I always go back to Kyle's, one of the questions Kyle was asked me, you still got to look at, this conference that they play in. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of teams in that conference from my past. And, it's a physical league and they're used to playing physical teams. And so we've got to, it pays no dividends whatsoever to look at records if you're not going to realize they're playing in a very physical conference and they're used to that. And so we got to match that.
Coach, one last one. We'll let you go. Obviously, SEMO, you now got the trophy you play for. So this game's with Western, you're sort of getting a new rivalry since they'll be in the Big South OVC Association next year. So talk about that and just making some new rivals here and with these teams.
Well, I think it's great it's so awesome for our conference. Like I told our team before this week, and I told them Sunday in our team meeting. We have an obligation in this rivalry with SEMO to make it competitive. It's not a rivalry until we start winning and we start getting those and getting competitive in this game. And I think we need to probably make more of that in this offseason of understanding the importance of that rivalry because that's so great for college football. And then when you get Western, I think it's such a good move for them. And for our conferences, it's exciting for the OVC to bring in a program like Western, and with the proximity, it's another great opportunity that we'll talk a little bit about here in the future what we can do between our programs too, and kind of get a similar trophy and things like that as well. We're with all these schools, especially in this region, these rivalries kind of go off the football field even in the off season through recruiting and through. A lot of kids we're all kind of recruiting a lot of the same kids. And so, you got to present a product that kids feel like they want to come be a part of, and rivalries are a part of that. And so we really need to embrace that. And we're excited about that.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time this morning. Best of luck on Saturday. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate y'all.